Welcome back to Raider News. As you know, with the coronavirus outbreak, there's been not many sports going on, but in the NFL, the free agency does have a lot of headlines. So, starting with Tom Brady, what do you guys think about that to the Bucks?
As a Patriots fan, it hurt. It hurt. I mean, I knew it was coming. We didn't have the cap space to sign him to the contract that he wanted, but I did not think it was going to be Tampa Bay where he ended up. I figured either he's going to go home to California, maybe the Chargers would give him a chance after Phillip Rivers having an awful season. But the Bucks surprised me. I mean, he's an all-time great. It shouldn't affect his legacy whether he goes and wins the Super Bowl with them next year or they don't even make the playoffs.
It's fair. I mean, as a Jets fan, I love it. I'm so happy. I've never been more happy.
Yeah, I agree with Wid for the most part. I felt like I knew he was going to leave, but I didn't see the Bucks. I thought he was going to go to the Raiders, honestly.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people were saying.
I thought definitely after the Titans lost that I thought he was definitely leaving. I think the Buccaneers were just really threw me. It just really threw me off. I just didn't see that coming. I didn't see that team. I just didn't. I thought basically he might have retired, to be honest with you, because I knew he wouldn't go back to the Patriots. But I thought he might have just called a career there. But he is trying to get one more. He made it a statement. He said he doesn't want to be in a suit at the Super Bowl next year. He wants to be suited up. So we'll see.
I mean, Bruce Arians is a great coach, especially with quarterbacks. I think as long as they have protection on the offensive line, he's going to be okay, just like he was for the past 2 years in New England with his older body, not as athletic as he was. Not that he was ever really athletic, but obviously he slowed down a little bit over the past few years. I think that overall it's a good fit. I know none of us saw it coming because all the analysts suspected it was somewhere else, but I do think it's a good fit and the weapons they've gotten around him too.
Yeah,
that was a big problem this year in New England.
And speaking of the Buccaneers and surprises, we can add on to this a little more. Recently, Gronkowski announcing that, or not, the Patriots announcing that they were trading Gronkowski over to the Buccaneers. Women, let's start with you over here. How are you feeling about this?
If losing the greatest quarterback of all time who won your franchise 6 Super Bowls wasn't enough, his best buddy and the best tight end of all time decides to come out of retirement, didn't want to come out of retirement last year to have one more ride with Brady in New England, but now he wants to in Tampa Bay. It hurts. It hurts. But from the Patriots' perspective, some people were like, oh, why, like only a 4th rounder and they still gave up a 7th. But if you think about it, they turned nothing into a 4th round pick.
Yeah. Why don't you go take that Sexton jersey down and let's see what's like behind it. I'm interested.
No, my feelings
I see an arm extending out catching a football.
What is that?
Wait, whose arm is that catching a football? I can almost.
It's the right arm of Tom Brady throwing one.
Oh, it looked like someone Odelling it. You know what I mean? Like I can see that. Sorry.
But honestly, for this one, I mean, this even obviously threw me off more than Brady. I mean, I kind of almost forgot about Gronk for a quick second just because he was, a star tight end one year, and then the next year he was partying on a yacht almost every other weekend. And
almost a WWE wrestler.
Yeah, enjoying his best retirement life. So seeing that he was going back to reunite with Brady threw me a surprise. Obviously, he won't be prime Gronk. It won't be prime Brady. But Brady having that extra option down there, he's a great player to have when you need that, touchdown. When you're in the red zone, you need to get to that guy. You can get it to him. So I think that's a great pickup for the Buccaneers, and I think it'll be fun to watch, especially for me. Maybe not for women, but for a Giants fan, Jets fan, anyone, it's good to see.
Yes.
I mean, the Bucs already had 2 stellar tight ends in Cameron Brate and O.J. Howard. We saw the success that Brady had with Hernandez and Gronk while they were both around. So I think it's going to be good for him. You think about all the weapons on that offense. You got Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and the 2 tight ends. All they need is a running back, and that's one of the best offenses in the league. It already is. But if they can get that last piece, I think they will be the best offense in the league next season.
Yeah, they got weapons. Let's also get into the DeAndre Hopkins trade. It's kind of crazy. What do you guys think about that?
dumb for the Texans, I would say. Very, 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 very not smart for the Texans. I don't know why they decided that was a good idea. David Johnson, he was good, 2-3 years ago? Last year, he was very subpar. I know that, he was not performing well at all. I don't know why they decided to pull the trigger on DeAndre Hopkins. There didn't really seem to be any conflict or tensions, so I don't really know where it came from.
They had a group. Oh, and go.
You got it, Ryan. You got it.
They had a great 1-2 punch in the backfield last year with Hyde and Duke Johnson. So I don't really see the immediate need for David Johnson and to give up arguably the best wide receiver in football. With a team that was right there last year, they played one great quarter in the playoffs, and the last three they just kind of lost it. But they definitely could have won that game if it weren't for Mahomes' magic the rest of that game. But to blow it up like that, give up the best receiver in the league. Nothing substantial in return.
It just simply didn't make sense to me. I saw it. You see these trades and you figure that there's more to it, more draft picks, more something. It just didn't really make any logical sense to me. Like you said, they almost or probably should have beat the eventual Super Bowl champion. Again, Mahomes is just a very, very, very talented player. But, I mean, I feel like these players are getting tossed around a little too much. Hopkins is a valuable player, and you don't just let him go for something like that. I think it's comparable. A lot of people disagree with this. A lot of people agree with it. As a Giants fan, I think that the Giants let Odell go too easily. Maybe it was smart to let him go, but I feel like they let him go for too little for sure. I think that happens a lot in other places in the league, and I think it's something that hurts teams especially because, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is, a top 5 wide receiver? I mean, easily. How is he being traded for that little? It doesn't really make much sense to me.
I saw them maybe being a serious contender in years because I feel like DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson were just entering their prime, if not even in their prime yet.
I agree.
So I feel, and Deshaun Watson was he was making an MVP case last year already in his third year in the league.
Yeah, and you take what he tore his ACL 1 year, so his second full year in the league, and they plucked away his best target, which makes no sense. If I were him, I'd be frustrated, and it all just started because of a little bit of a contract dispute. When you see Michael Thomas get paid like he did this offseason, and you're just as good, if not better than him, and you ask for something similar, your organization should listen, and obviously they didn't want to put up with that.
I agree.
Yeah.
So Brady was not the only quarterback on the move. We saw people who have been tenured in their cities move on. Phillip Rivers is gone. He is now on the Colts, signed a 2-year, $50 million contract with them. Teddy Bridgewater, after his injury and little stint with the Saints, is now the franchise quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. What do you guys think about those acquisitions?
I really like the Teddy Bridgewater to the Panthers move. The Panthers, obviously after getting rid of Cam Newton, releasing him, they had to replace him with someone, and I think Teddy Bridgewater is that guy. I watched him closely when he was with the Jets about a year ago before he got traded to the Saints. And even at the Saints, he played great. He stepped in when Drew Brees was injured. He stepped in, and I think he went undefeated, I'm pretty sure.
They went into 5 or 4-0.
Yeah. So, I mean, clearly, if you have the right weapons around him, if you have the right play calling, I think he will fit well. And the Panthers they're getting some good guys around him. They just got Robbie Anderson, which is, I think, a great pickup. I think they're doing the right thing over there in Carolina.
I think Robert. I got it. I think Robert nailed it on the head there. About Bridgewater, he does have to have the right options around him. He might not be, a Pro Bowl quarterback right now, or he might not be throughout his career, but he's a player who can get the job done if he has the right players around him. Robbie Anderson's a great pickup for the Panthers, and it looks like they're on the upward trend right now. They were at the top for a little while, a few years back, and they've had their worst years, but it looks like they're back on their way to the top. So I do think that it's a good pickup for them. And I think that Bridgewater might actually work out there.
Yeah, I also think it's a good pick, but I don't think it's nearly enough for the team to – I think that they are on the rebound, but still a lot needs to be done in order for them to be a contender.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
even make the playoffs maybe.
Well,
Mhm.
you look at that NFC South; it's stacked. You have the new look Buccaneers, the Falcons, who last year they started off terrible but came on strong at the end of the year. You never know what Matt Ryan's going to give you either. It goes to an MVP season, to an awful season, to playing well. You never know.
Yeah.
And then you have the Panthers and the Saints.
Oh yeah,
So it's going to be hard to get out of the
Mhm.
Buccaneers might not win that division. So look at
Yeah,
someone
absolutely.
throw Teddy Bridgewater in there who hasn't fully started for a
Yeah.
year in 3 years. It's going to be rough for him, but I expect him to be pretty good. I mean, what he showed last year in New Orleans, I think surprised everybody. Drew
Mhm.
Brees
Yeah, it's
goes,
definitely the division just in general. I definitely think it's going to be hard to predict what's going to happen. I
Yeah.
think the Saints are still obviously going to be a threat down there, but with all the new looks and new teams down there, I think it's just going to be a whole mix up.
I think it's safe to say this upcoming NFL season is going to be very fun to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting
It's
absolutely.
for
going to be
sure.
really competitive. I
Interesting.
think the AFC opened up with Brady leaving. Now the NFC is going to be very competitive. I'm excited for it.
Definitely.
We could get into the draft a little bit. There's a lot of big names in the draft this year. We each covered a team to sort of say what they should look at, what they sort of need, what roles they need, and what players would be good to fill that. So Ryan, you want to start with you?
yeah. So the Buccaneers, like I said before, they seem to be just one player away from having the best offense in the league, and that's a running back. So Ronald Jones last year and Peyton Barber, they kind of had a running back by committee back there, and at some points it worked, but at other points it didn't. So they have the 13th overall pick. They need a running back. They need to beef up their offensive line. They were bottom third in sacks allowed last year. And they got to keep players off of Brady.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the 13th, 45th, and the 76th pick. The running back's very deep, or the draft is very deep in running backs. You got Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor, Clyde Edwards-Helaire from LSU, DeAndre Swift, who might go in the first round. I say if you're the Bucks, you wait in the second round. You need to win now. So you take that 13th pick, you package it maybe with a pick next year or 2 years down the line, and you try and move up into the top 10 where you can get one of those 4 great offensive line prospects that I know at least the Browns are looking for one, maybe the Panthers for another one. So they can get up there. If the Chargers or Dolphins maybe aren't set on Tua and Herbert, maybe they can get trade down. But I think the most important thing for the Bucks to get a running back in the second or third round, either hopefully someone who can catch out of the backfield like J.K. Dobbins, or take one in the third round because there will still be them there, and get one of those big offensive linemen to protect Brady.
Yeah. Gumpo, you want to move with you?
I chose the Browns after their very disappointing year. I think they need to move Odell and just create cap space and just work on the O-line and just fill the holes because they have more than enough skill positions. They don't need more big name wide receivers, running backs. They just need to fill the tiny little holes. They have the 10th pick in the draft. I think they need to draft an interior O-line. They have to. Otherwise, it's a dumpster fire there.
Yeah.
But I think they need to upgrade the O-line, a couple of maybe linebackers, and I think they'll be a solid contender. I think they also need to connect as a team as a whole as well.
Yeah. Owen, next to you with the Giants.
So obviously as a Giants fan, I wanted to analyze my guys. The Giants have another season coming ahead of them that doesn't look too great. If they possibly could make a few good moves, maybe it could turn out to be a wild card year or something. But as Giants fans, do not expect much anymore, to be honest with you. So, personally, I'm very upset that they had to beat the Redskins in overtime in a most useless game of the season. Obviously, if they lost that game, they would have had Chase Young for the next year and the future. But it looks like we're going to miss out on him maybe possibly a few other franchises will mess up and we might get him, but obviously it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Personally, I want Isaiah Simmons. He's athletic. He has a great IQ, and his tough mentality is perfect for the New York market. He can handle it, and it's obviously New York sports hasn't been good lately. It's tough to play here. It's tough to play in front of these fans, a lot of angry fans in a lot of the stadium. But you need to be the right player. I think his toughness will definitely take it. His toughness will definitely work here. We need linemen. If Simmons doesn't work, we need linemen or linebacker, but especially linemen. We have good options on the offensive side. We have Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, Saquon Barkley, and Daniel Jones obviously hasn't proved much yet, but he has shown some potential throughout the year. And most of his downfalls were coming from turnovers from being hit. If we can get a good O-lineman, that would be perfect. D-line, doesn't matter. A few options. Tristan Wirfs from Iowa had a great year for them, would be good on our O-line. Jedrick Willis from Alabama is another possibility. Mekhi Becton on Louisville, big man, that would work out for them. Personally, I just want to see the Giants make the right choice. I think in the past, Gettleman has shown not to make the best decisions. So we'll see if they could please the Giants fans this time around.
Yeah, I looked at the other local New York team, the Jets. The Jets this past season, they showed some potential. The defense didn't really seem to be the problem. The offensive line has been like really bad the past couple of years, and I think it's going to be really important to look at the available offensive linemen. Obviously, there's Tristan Wirfs, Andrew Thomas, Jedrick Wills, and other guys like that, Josh Jones. But I think we really need to look at one of those four guys, and if all of them are taken, which I doubt they will be, then we will look to take a top wide receiver. I think Henry Ruggs was on in the site of Joe Douglas. Obviously, CD Lamb and Jerry Jeudy were other options. There's, I think, the top three that we would even consider. I think it's really important to protect Sam Darnold before you build out and get the wide receivers. I think if you could get a top 3, top 4 O-lineman in this draft, then I think you're really setting them up for the next few years, especially after the free agency pickups. And yeah, I mean, I'm hoping they get an O-lineman, but I wouldn't hate if they got a wide receiver, especially if it was one of those top 3. But as we know, this draft is wide receiver heavy. So I know in the second and third round, they could get some wide receivers to build depth, and hopefully we could find one that will be a star. So, also in sports news, recently the MJ doc, The Last Dance, has just come out. So I want to get your thoughts on that.
I was watching ESPN the other day, and they were talking about all the other iconic players in any of sports. They all make appearances on TV. You got Peyton's Places on ESPN+. You got Tom Brady in a bunch of commercials, LeBron in commercials. You really don't see a lot of Michael Jordan, do you?
Mm-mm.
So he's lived a pretty quiet life after, and a lot of people have wanted to see what his life in the NBA was like, because he is the best player of all time as of right now. We'll wait till LeBron finishes his career. It'll be him. But as of right now, MJ is a GOAT. Anyone you ask will acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But the thing that surprised me most was how bad his teams were those first few years. You saw they said set the NBA playoff record 63 points in his second season against the Celtics, and they lost.
Yeah.
And the comparisons with LeBron James, you got the finals record 3-6 for LeBron, 6-0 for MJ. MJ didn't get anywhere with those teams. What did LeBron do in 2007? He brought a team full of scrubs through the Eastern Conference Finals. They got smacked by the Spurs in the finals, but he brought them there. 2018,
You
got
can't
through
compare
some
that
good teams in the East.
to the best Celtics team of all time, debatably.
Still, you look at Jordan when he's not surrounded with the players that he had to win those championships. What did he do? What did he do? And LeBron
Larry Bird
got
that
them
was the best Celtics
to the finals.
ever.
That's
Larry Bird
what
did
shocked
that,
me the
and he
most.
was on the team. You can't compare the 2007 Cavs and what they did to the best Celtics team ever. A top 2 franchise, their best team ever. You can't compare that.
I don't know.
I get it. What LeBron did is impressive. I'm not trying to take away from that. I'm just saying I think MJ's competition as a whole throughout his
But I
career
also
was a little bit
think
more
if
difficult.
LeBron James played in that game that MJ scored 63, LeBron might have put up like 85 points. Literally, like, might have put up 85. Who's guarding LeBron James in that game? Because you're not going to tell me Larry Bird's not going. If LeBron drives in that game every single time, he would score every single time.
It's interesting the narrative that LeBron gets because he's 3-6 in the finals. And no one really gives him that respect for taking those teams to even getting to the finals.
Yeah.
Would MJ have been able to do that? That's what most intrigued me in the first 2 episodes.
I think trying to compare LeBron and MJ, like, it's sort of different. I think they both had a huge impact on the organization and the cities that they played for. I think MJ, when you watch that documentary, you see that Chicago basketball, it was literally on its way down. There was no fans. There was no one going to games. They weren't winning many games. They were getting smacked. And as soon as they picked MJ, within weeks, the stadium was packed and the whole organization was flipped because you were able to see the impact that he brought to the organization, and he ultimately created a franchise, and they started building.
Which is very comparable, but it's also very comparable to what LeBron did to every single team he went to.
No, it's true. It's true.
Like LeBron, before the Cavs, LeBron made the Cavs the Cavs. That's obvious. Okay, but when he went to the Heat were struggling. Made the Heat then. He left the Heat. The Heat are a decent team again. He went to a Cavs team that was they were coming off a number 1 pick. Made them into 4 straight finals. So it's
it's very comparable.
I feel like those both of them are so comparable in so many different ways. It's crazy. But the thing I took the most out of the Jordan LeBron debate out of that is that how people always try to say that if LeBron played in that era of basketball, he wouldn't have made the same impact or wouldn't have done the same thing. He absolutely would have. Watching that, you see some of the players that Jordan played. Yeah, you had the tough guys like Barkley and Bill Laimbeer who will throw you an elbow and don't care. But you see, there's also the guys that can barely jump, 10 inches in the air, So I think that that's the one thing that I think LeBron definitely would be able to play in that era. But moving on from the LeBron Jordan debate, what was one thing that surprised you guys the most from the insides of the Bulls organization or Jordan's life? Anything that happened?
Just
the amount of drug use. The
full dysfunction in the front office. I never would have, from such a great dynasty, I never would have expected the GM, the owner, and the coach to all be on totally different pages. You have MJ. I thought it was hilarious. He was making fun of the GM. I thought it was so funny. But I mean, when you're that good, I guess you can without any consequences. But that just doesn't seem like the type of atmosphere that could succeed. And they won. They went on 2-3 peats. You would never expect that. We would never have gotten that sense of that there was dysfunction because I had no clue that there was any sort of dysfunction.
Well, I found it. The thing I found the craziest was Pippen. Pippen was so disrespected by that organization. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
In 11 seasons with the Bulls, he made $22.2 million, right? $22.2 million with 11 seasons with the Bulls. In the next 5 seasons with the Trailblazers and the Rockets in his later years in the league, He made $77 million
Yeah.
in 5 seasons with 2 different organizations. The fact that in 1998, he was 122nd in salary in the league.
Mhm.
Right now, Andre Roberson is 122nd in salary in the league. They're not even comparable. He
Yeah.
was sixth. He was sixth on the Bulls team after being the number 2 guy for 5 championships in a row, or not in a row in the years, but it's
Yeah.
just amazing how much he was disrespected because he probably most of his career was a top 10, top 15 player in the league.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
if he was on any other team but the Bulls, he would have been the star player. It was amazing how I actually don't understand how it slid either. Like how that was actually happening. Because if it was nowadays, that guys are getting paid. They're going to get
Yeah.
paid before anything.
One
It just
thing
could just be
that's
like for
surprising
me.
of this like drug use and partying. Obviously, they're young adult millionaires living their life. They're gonna do some partying, but I didn't realize it was like to that extent. Like before games, they were talking like essentially the whole team in one hotel room just partying like before games. Like I didn't realize it was like that crazy. I
Yeah.
just thought, yeah, I found that a little.
And how Michael Jordan he saw that and he immediately just shied, like he didn't even consider doing anything with that, which like
Yeah.
you have to respect it, because when you're a new player, especially a rookie, and you go in and see all these proven players and they're just all like having a good time doing drugs, like it's probably easy to say, you know what, I want to sort of fit in, I want to be like the outlier, but
Yeah.
he stuck to himself and what he believed.
Yeah.
I'd say overall, like I think it seems like the Bulls organization was almost just like a mess. Like even before he got there, like they were a mess. Um, towards the end, like '98, like it seemed like the front office was a mess, like Ryan you said, and like I feel like at some points it's like they weren't sure what they were doing, but obviously they have this 15-year franchise with 6 championships. It's just crazy. It's really cool. Being able to, because obviously being born in 2002 2001, we weren't able to really really see his impact on basketball, but it's really cool to be able to watch this and really see what he did.
So that's it for this episode of our sports podcast. We'll be back in the next few weeks, so make sure you look out for us. But for now, make sure you stay safe and enjoy your quarantine as much as you can.